Welcome to Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto, Willies, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to every nook and cranny receiving our 100,000 watt signal from our 100,000 watt transmitter in Northeast Texas, Southeast Texas, Northwest Louisiana, Southwest Louisiana. Good morning to the entire world. We are going to have a great program today. We have great subjects to talk about, but before we get to those there's a subject that just came to mind after a New York Times article just flashed as I was reading this morning. So I'm going to start there unless, of course, Jack changes things. You know, Jack has that canny way of bringing up a subject, tickling my fancy bone and getting it going. But before we get into any of that, we got to get to the geniuses in the studio. Mi gente, ¿cómo están? How's my people doing?
Well, we're doing so far so good. The tin cans and string are holding up. Had a bit of a power dump last night about 8:20, but it all came back, so we're good.
Oh, the transmitter, the power went out?
Yeah. See, I'm on the same circuit as the transmitter out because I live less than a mile away. Whenever my lights go out, the transmitter goes out. Whenever my lights come back on, there's no programming on KPFT. So I reset the server and kept it on time. So we're good.
Good.
And the good news is we are now broadcasting our FM HD2 signal. So there's a whole bunch of folks out there can tune it in with their HD radios. It's KPFT HD2. And we put in the encoder yesterday. Close to 3 hours worth of wrangling and pulling teeth. And I finally got it to work. So It's good to go.
And it's on that big antenna as well, huh?
It is. In fact, our good friend Bill Crozier was listening to it down near Hobby. So I don't know if the HD2 signal gets out as far as the main signal does, because it's a subcarrier. So, but tune into HD2 and listen to some of the most exactly wonderful shows ever. So that's something additional that you can get with KPFT when you support us at 713-526-5738. You not only get one channel, but you get two channels of great programming. So we doubled the listening pleasure.
There you go.
Jack, I think you've got a page full of wisdom over there that you're just chomping at the bit to give to us.
Yes, indeed. Good morning, Egberto. How are you?
Good morning, Jack. Talk to me, my brother.
Okay, this is about your tax code. We need to change the tax code to include the corporations.
Yes.
Well, since they're people, they should be able to be taxed like people.
Yeah. How does that work?
It doesn't.
Special people.
It's not working. Since Reagan, when the neocons flipped us to a neoliberal economic policy which funnels money to the top, the oligarchs have become so spoiled on their wealth, so much so they don't care about what's happening to the people. Then you have the right-wing extremist politician auditioning for the oligarchs by how cruel and draconian they can be with the bills they propose and the laws they legislate. So hell yeah, tax the corporate wealth. Capitalism must be regulated or we get spoiled oligarchs and extreme politicians who are too happy to oppress the people.
There you go. You nailed it, my brother. You nailed it. And I will be talking about that after I do a little bit about the ICC and the arrest of the potential arrest of Netanyahu. But before we get there, and we have a lot to talk about. I'm gonna just spend a short amount of time on the Netanyahu issue because I don't do a lot of that here at KPFT for many reasons. I do that mostly at my 3:00 show. But likewise, we really going to spend a hell of a lot of time on the taxes, which is imperative. But before we get there, we are still in fund drive, folks. And in as much as I'm going to give you a good program today, a substantive, informative program, I want to ask you so kindly to support the station. You're getting a great program today. It's substantive, but again, we need to have your support. We ask kindly for your support. Please go ahead and let's start early today, if at all possible. Please give us a call at 713-526-5738, extension number 1. As our general manager has been asking for quite some time now, what we're trying to do is we're trying to raise sustainers. That means people that say we're going to give you a coffee a month, 2 coffees a month, 3 coffees a month, meaning $5, $10, $15 a month. Yesterday, I saw one in between that I smiled. I was happy. I saw somebody who said, you know what? I can't do 10. I can do 10. I can't do 15. Let's make it $12.50 a month. And that's what they did. It's just wonderful seeing people support it, but we are way behind in the support right now. So I'm asking you to call 713-526-5738. Think about those sustainers. Again, you don't feel it. Guarantee most people won't feel giving us $5, $10, $15, $20 a month. Most people won't. And if you can't give, do remember to tell folks about us. But for those who have the ability to give, who understand the kind of work that we do here, who support the kind of work that we do here, please support us. You can get one of my the Politics Done Right T-shirts for, I think it's $100 a month. You can also you can donate whatever. I mean, not $100 a month, $100. I made that mistake yesterday as well. The T-shirt is $100 straight up, and there are a lot more offers that I'm sure Sandy's going to talk about. So let's pass it on to Sandy, and then we'll start the program with these important stories. Sandy, good morning, my brother.
Good morning, Egberto, and thank you. The amazing offer that we have is KPFT. Folks, we stand at $86,707. During the May campaign, we were hoping to raise $150,000. So we're still $63,000 and change short of where we need to be at the end of this drive. The drive's supposed to end on Sunday. Other Pacifica stations are already extending their May drives. We may be forced to do the same thing. We'll make that determination toward the weekend a little bit more. But for right now, help us close this gap. 713-526-5738, option 1. Help us to keep operating and paying all the bills as a responsible business entity should do. We don't want to shortchange any of our vendors when they're deserving of remuneration for services rendered, to be quite exact. And those services help us stay on the air and get our voices to you. Just a note, I want to thank Sinbad for coming in last night. We had another power dump, which had nothing to do with anything of a storm nature. Just they're still repairing lines and things are being switched around occasionally, especially in the area in which our transmitter resides, which got smacked pretty good by that storm, as a lot of areas did. But I want to thank Sinbad and Jane and Marjorie for calling in, for making some nice donations to that program. I don't know if they were thanked. And I want to thank you too. So please do call the number this morning, and let's see if we can't get that 86,707 to grow into something a little bit more toward our overall goal. I thank you for doing so, and I thank the 539 discrete donators to this drive already that has built up to what otherwise might be a tremendous sum of money in most people's worlds. But here at KPFT, this beast demands $52,000 a month to keep running. So KPFT listeners, this is our station. So do what you can. $5 a month, $5. Person giving $5 is giving $5 more than somebody giving nothing at all. 713-526-5738, kpft.org. Thank you, Egberto. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Sandy. Let me say, we should be at around, we're at $86,707. We should be at around $110,000 right now. and building that extra $40,000 then. But we are, again, as you can see, several $1,000s behind what I call the ramp rate. In other words, the rate at which people give based on the amount of time we're holding the fund drive open. So you can start fixing that for us, like now. Call in 713-526-5738, extension number 1, or going to kpft.org. Hit that donate button, select Politics Done Right as a show you're supporting, and then go ahead and give whatever you can. Again, $5 a month won't hurt you. $10 a month. Well, that's presumptuous of me. $5 a month won't hurt most. $10 a month won't hurt most. I mean, you do that many times by just buying a coffee for a friend or something like that. So we appreciate that. Anyway, before I get into the tax subject, as you guys know, the ICC recommended that that Netanyahu and the leaders of Hamas should be arrested on war crimes. I want to remind everybody, we all signed international laws, etc. A war crime, the collective punishment of a group, is a war crime. In other words, all of you Texans and Michiganders and Floridians that are listening to me right now, if you go ahead and if a very bad person harms or kill your relative, a relative of yours, let's say your daughter, your child, your whatever, and you go ahead and you said, because that person killed my child, I am going to go into someone else's home and kill their mother, their brother, their sister, and everything, because that particular family harmed our family. That's what collective punishment looks like. Another form of collective punishment is there are a whole lot of thugs that are running around Houston, and they all barricade themselves in the Galleria. As they are barricaded in the Galleria, they lock the doors to prevent innocent people from leaving. And they're hiding behind these innocent people. Houstonians, I want you to be honest with yourself. I want you to be frank and empathetic. If the cops decided they wanted those 10 terrorists so bad that are in the Galleria area so badly, and in as much as they're surrounded by 3,000 innocent Houstonians, and they came in with guns and bullets and bombs and just bombed until they are able to get to those terrorists, mowing down innocent babies, mothers, and children. That chief of police, that whatever, would be charged with crimes above and beyond. They would be charged with murder for every single one of those people. Yet, sometimes, but one other thing, you would look. The reason you see that so as something that is so wrong is because you would take a look at those people as human beings like you, your mother, your brother, your sister, or anybody else. Now, America, we like to call ourselves the moral authority of the world and the police of the world, etc. That's who we like to think we are. Unfortunately, it's something that our government never was. Now, individual Americans are good people. Most Americans are good people. I mean, if you doubt it, look at what happened during this our huge power failure where 1 million Houstonians were out of power. People with generators were throwing over lines to help each other. My generator is running. Your refrigerator need to run. We give you some power to run your refrigerator so your food don't spoil. I saw all kind of good deeds being done by Americans. Americans are good people. But there's a militaristic flaw in our leadership. In our leadership that's full of testosterone is what I've always said. Why we probably need women to take the power on right now, because for some reason in general, maybe it's because women bear children, they don't have that machoistic killing spirit. Before we even talk about Israel, I'm from a country called Panama, and this still hurts to the core. Bush number one, we had a general, a Panamanian general named Manuel Antonio Noriega. To the Americans, he was loved for a long time. While he did deeds for the CIA, they looked the other way, as he was also financing, allowing the financing of drugs through banks in Panama and many other things that he did. But for the Panamanian people proper, one dictator here, one dictator there, no big deal, etc., etc., etc. But that's the one person that the first time he told no to the United States, they said, "How dare you?" And then they decided, now we're going to be serious about charging you for selling drugs to willing Americans who want to buy drugs from you. Well, he wasn't selling the drugs. He was facilitating the drugs. So the personal responsibility, we won't try to talk to Americans with that individualistic personal responsibility message. We'll come and get you because you're facilitating drugs to America. And to get that one person, according to the American government, 1,000 Panamanians got killed in that war, that semi-war. According to the UN, I think it was 4,000. Those of us who live in Panama understood that the places where the C-130s, the stealth fighter as it was being developed, and many other assets killed 10,000 Panamanians. A lot of people don't like when I use that number because they say, oh, you're hyperventilating. No, it was 10,000 Panamanians that were decimated by bombs, just as Israel has decimated much of Gaza. But in the case of Panama, there were several blocks decimated in areas that we had the Cuartel Nacional de Panama, Cuartel Nacional in Colón, and David. In other words, these parts of Panama and David that had the security guard. We didn't have a military security guard. They called them La Guardia Nacional, the National Guards. That's where America came and blasted and blew up everything. I watched as my father was running under his bed like he was a chicken because of the missiles flying over Arcoiris to get into Colón and hit the Cuartel. America can fire bombs from 3-4 miles away to hit the targets that they want. And they did that back in 1989. And my town, Colón, thousands of people died in not Marañón, but in Panama City. I don't remember the subdivision. Thousands of people died. The tenement buildings that surrounded the Cuartel Nacional, thousands of people died because they lived in tenements, but they were expendable. Nobody considered them human beings in the United States. And when the war was over, they kept the reporters out. They bulldozed everything, put it into mass graves, etc. No news media was out in the United States covering it, but it was covered elsewhere. So what Israel is doing is not anathema to what we have done to innocent people. These are war crimes, collective punishment. Noriega, all the dead Panamanians shouldn't have been dead to capture Noriega. They wanted to capture Noriega, and they were going to do whatever was necessary to capture Noriega. Back now to Israel. The same is occurred. What Hamas did was terrorism, criminal. It was horrendous. 1,200 innocent Israelis murdered, killed. terrorism. And in response, Netanyahu and the IDF goes into Gaza. And the pretext was Hamas is hiding behind innocent people. Remember the Galleria in Houston? Would we allow our police forces or National Guard to blow the crap out of the Galleria to get those 20 or 30, 40 or 100 terrorists that are hiding behind 3,000 people? Would we sacrifice those 3,000 people? Well, we know we sacrifice Panamanians to get Noriega, one person. We know we're capable of doing that. And likewise, it was done. It's what's being done in Israel. 60% of all buildings have now officially been blown up in Gaza. Under those rubbles, people talk about there are 35,000 people dead. There are more than 35,000 people dead when you look at the entire strip, that small strip of Gaza, and all the different towns in there that's been decimated. Thousands of people dead. I mean, are some of them Hamas sympathizers? Probably. Are some of them Hamas? Likely. But most of those people just want to get by with their lives. And because folks do not see the humanity in these people, anybody who looks at news other than the New York Times or the Washington Post, anybody who looks at news from around the world and understand what is going on, our brothers and sisters inside of Israel don't get the real news. They kicked out Al Jazeera. They stopped the live feeds out of Israel, Gaza, and it's elsewhere. It has to be smuggled now. You can't know what you don't know. You can't make decisions on what you don't know. But you also should never lose your humanity and your empathy. The Israeli papers are now reporting how, in fact, just like charging Trump with crimes have somehow increased his popularities with a sect in America, now that Netanyahu has been charged or they want to arrest warrants from the ICC, his popularity in Israel has gone up. What the hell is wrong with the world's morality? What is wrong where we cannot see death is wrong? What is hell is wrong? We have made killing, we have made collective punishment so vogue, or we have made it that it is now vogue for many. What is wrong with humanity? That the people in the newspapers are saying, how dare them put Netanyahu at the same level with Hamas? All I say is open your eyes. Open your eyes. Compare the cities of Gaza or the territory of Gaza with Haifa, Jerusalem, Tel Aviv. People can still go and have their coffee. People can still go and drink their drinks. People can still go to their churches, their synagogues, their mosques in Tel Aviv, in Jerusalem, everywhere else. Even as rockets come from Gaza and the West Bank, they're protected by the Iron Dome. So life goes on almost, not completely, almost as well over there. But in Gaza, it's decimation, killing, bloodlet, and daily. I have somebody who calls into my morning program every single day. Or rather, my afternoon program. He goes ahead and he prints every single day the death count. Every single day. He reminds us of the death count, the injured count, and then he does a proportional analysis. Suppose this was the United States of America. I want you to think about that, my brothers and sisters. Before, and by the way, criticizing the death of people, criticizing what's happening, do not let anybody tell you that being humane in whatever you have to do to be humane makes one anti-Semitic, racist, or otherwise. Just look at the numbers, look at the morality, and think about your empathy. All right, folks, we are in fund drive mode. That is my first take. We're in fund drive mode. I got to get folks calling in. I ask you so kindly to support the station right now at 713-526-5738, extension number 1. 713-526-5738, extension number 1 to support us. Please go ahead and go to kpft.org, select donate, scroll down to our Politics Done Right, and provide us with whatever you can. $5 a month. Before I go to Melissa, Johnny, Harry, and Joe, I need to get back to Sandy. We got to make some money right now, my brothers and sisters.
Thank you, Egberto.
Yes, sir.
We do have to make some money right now. It's 6:26, and we're still waiting on that first donation. Folks, we are behind the curve. If you're thinking about making a donation, and maybe you're driving right now, you're on your way to work or on the way home from work, get to somewhere safe before you do it. But do make that donation. We really do need to hear from the entire community. This station belongs to the community. Now, while you may not agree with all the programming and everything, if you're in a position to donate some money and you have been a listener, it's our responsibility to continue this 54-year-old project in Houston. And you can do that with your simple call at 713-526-5738, option 1. $120 donation gets you a Caroline Street coffee cup and a pound of the Colombian Supremo coffee beans from Lola Savannah as a thank you. But you got to take that step so that we can all enjoy KPFT going forward. And you can enjoy a cup of coffee in a cool mug, and a good cup of coffee at that. 713-526-5738. Be the first. Egberto?
Thank you so kindly, Sandy. Folks, we really need the calls in now. We're behind the curve on contribution. And by the way, I just gave a little stuff on a very touchy subjects. I try not to talk this subject on air at KPFT a lot for of course, obvious reasons, but I cover it extensively in other domains. But here's the thing, folks. You have this platform. You can agree or disagree with me. You can call in and disagree with me. You can call in and tell me your point of view. When you're listening to NBC, ABC, CBS tell this story, you have no option to say, I disagree with what you guys are printing out of Tel Aviv or out of Haifa or out of Rafah or wherever. You don't have that opportunity. You have that here, brothers and sisters. You have that here. You don't have to agree. You can actually have your platform here. And that's why we need to be supported. 713-526-5738, extension number 1, or go to kpft.org. Please start contributing now. We are at the big donut hole, which means 0. So please start now as I go to Melissa. Melissa, come on in.
Good morning, Egberto. Good morning, Houston.
Good morning, Melissa. How are you doing this morning?
I'm well. I'm going to just say something quick so you can get to your other comments. Thank you for being here. I did support, so everyone should support. Please support, please. But I wanted to address, because I like petting elephants, white elephants. So I wanted to address that, why it wouldn't happen in the Westheimer Mall. Now, if you went to Sharpstown Mall, maybe we have a different outcome. Maybe they don't mind, but Westheimer Mall, they might have a problem with how to get someone out of there, right? So we already know why it wouldn't happen on American soil like that. But it could. It could. It just depends on the area. And we already know why every time someone that is being reprimanded, the other side of it, is like hoorah on it, because we already know that too. So let's not, dance around it. And I'm really tired of tiptoeing around it. And everyone needs to come to their conscious moment and say why this really is happening. So,
Melissa, let me tell you said something that I want to touch on. Notice I used the Galleria and I didn't use Sharpstown because I knew somebody would call in and then tell me about the subdivision in Pennsylvania that they simply burned down to get the one guy, the few guys. So I understand where you're coming from. Go ahead.
And then the second thing is it's the gaming industry. I remember when I was 8 or 9, my mom wouldn't even buy me games, like especially not shooting games. But now the gaming industry has made it perfectly legal to kill innocent women and children on their games. You used to die for that, but now you get points. So the gaming industry is really, I believe it, hands down, that the gaming industry has got these little boys and girls betting on whatever, and now it's been turned into a whole operation. Like, that's what we need to start talking to. It was when they took the handcuffs off and started exposing our children to all of this craziness, and then all of a sudden now it's okay to kill women, innocent women and children.
Melissa, again, it's what I talk about, making things vogue again. So, as usual, very smart commentary. And yes, Melissa, you are a great donor of this station as well. So thank you so kindly. You're a caller, you're a supporter, you have agency in this station, and you're always there for us. Thank you, sis.
All right. Bye.
You have a wonderful day. Let's go to Brother Joe. I think if this is the Joe I'm thinking about, he's also a supporter of the station, who even though he often doesn't agree with me, but I love Brother Joe. Talk to me, Joe.
Hey, Egberto. Sorry about that. I was trying to leave you $25 there on the with your operator.
Thank you, sir.
I will get back to that shortly, but no problem. So you said something interesting. You said news consumers that watch anything or get their sources from anything other than the New York Times and the Washington Post. Yada, they're getting the real story, right? But yet I hear you all the time. You read lengthy quotes from the New York Times and Washington Post. You put on, somebody like Rachel Maddow. You gave her, you played audio from her for like 5 minutes, right? And that those are bogus sources of information, dude. If you say I'm misinformed all the time, and yet you're quoting from some serious sources of disinformation, proven disinformation.
Can I explain?
Yeah,
I get your point. I get your point. Let me give an explanation. Americans know Rachel Maddow. They know, and name me any one of the reporters from. I also view several Fox hosts that actually said something that I like. Oh wow, you that's true. You take a look through all my blogs, you'll see I've quoted everybody. And let me first tell you, the reason I use many of these folks is because Americans know these folks and have confidence in these folks. And what I normally do is I then add narrative to what they say. Okay. Now, if I came and told you Timbuktu from Panavisa said something, nobody would be listening. So I have to create a balance of where, and by the way, the New York Post, the New York and Fox News and all these guys have very good reporters within their ranks. They're not, not because the rag itself lies a lot, mean every reporter in that rag lies. Because that's not the case. There are good reporters in all these things, and these guys work hard. Not only that, I don't have the money to go ahead and do all my do reporting. I can actually discriminate from the people who have money that investigate to bring that to you. Now, when I tell you, you're ill-informed or misinformed. It's not a personal attack. It is saying that there are industries out there designed to do just that. In fact, if I listen to your narrative many a times, there's one narrative that you use that turned me around when you said, there is this part of intersectionality we left out, X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, oh my God, Joe, you're right. But the X, Y, and Z is what all these other reporters are pushing. So anyway, go ahead, brother.
No worries. I just would disagree with your statement that these are, Rachel Maddow and her ilk are voices that Americans know and trust. Right? Those to me that those type of voices are those that brainwashed Democrats know and trust.
Remember, you and I weren't going to talk Democrats and Republicans anymore. We're talking about a new thing. You and I talking about a new thing. Don't forget that. Man.
Yeah, there is a third party that's come along that I wish we could all get together on, the MAGA party, right?
Right. It won't be the MAGA, but it'll be something else. But hey, Joe.
So how about this? One more thing. Hang on.
Real quick.
You said yesterday that illegal aliens basically want to stay out of the light. They don't want to vote. They don't want to risk it, right? I think that's a little too simplistic of a view, especially now.
I tell you, when we're out of fund drive, Joe, you have a platform here. You and I can talk about that. I want to go, Joe. I want to go. I appreciate you. I appreciate that you're, by the way, thank you for being a donor as well, brother. Let's talk about this after the fund drive. Man. We got a deal? All right. Thank you, brother. Peace. Let's go to brother Johnny. Come on in, Johnny. Folks, but before I get to Johnny, folks, I'm still at 0. We're still way behind. I need to ask you so kindly. Give us a call at 713-526-5738, extension number 1 to donate. Let's come on. $10 a month, $5 a month. I promise you, for most people, you won't miss it. We need it. It'll make a huge difference for a station like ours. Please go ahead and do that now. Look, I'm giving you a good program. We give you good programs here at KPFT. You know it because you're here. Please go ahead and give us a call at 713-526-5738. I want to welcome Paul Fleming from Atlanta, Georgia, as well as Eric Hayes from Kingwood, Texas. Let's go to Johnny. Brother Johnny, talk to me. How are you doing today?
Brother Egberto, I trust you're doing well this morning.
Yes, sir.
Hey, listening to you this morning, 2 things come to my mind. The first thing was, do you recall the body language and the facial expression on Joe Biden's face when he was delivering his State of the Union speech recently? And I describe it as this: sour face, sour, bitter, smug, and that's fine when you're talking to or at Republican legislators assembled in Congress. That's fine, but it's not correct. It's not called for. It's inappropriate when you're addressing college students at an assembly.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
And the other thing that comes to mind, it goes back to when I was a kid growing up in the 60s and 70s, and I first started listening to the news on the radio on a regular basis. And a lot of the buzzwords back then were Tel Aviv, every day, Tel Aviv. And that annoyed me so much. And I started to listen to what they were saying, and I thought to myself, why is it that there are always fighting going on over there? And who are these settlers? What's that about settling as the settlers? I thought about the American settlers in this country, when they kicked Native Americans out. And after a few years go by, you decide, wait a minute, let me go look on the atlas, on the map. And I looked at that part of the world, and it was so tiny. And then it became clear to me what was really going on. Fighting for space and for land. But it's under the guise of religious oppression and all. So what we have going on here is population control under the guise of misguided policy. So all these world leaders, whether it's an American president or Netanyahu or Putin in Russia, all these leaders of these big countries and these little countries who think they're big, they feel the need. And by the way, Netanyahu has admitted it. He thinks of Palestinians as weeds. He says, I've got to mow the grass every once in a while.
And they call them animals. Yeah. Look, hey, Johnny, I think you made your point, and I appreciate you. We're in for time right now. So thank you so kindly. Let me just tell everybody, I'm Norman Solomon and Abba Solomon. Two different guys, well-doctored guys. I'm having a 2-part series after the fund drive. The first half of the series is the formation of Israel, 48, and all of that. And the second part is going to be about the United States interaction in Israel. This is going to be an informative 2-piecer. I think I'm going to do it for 1 hour, but the 2-piecer to really get people understanding this whole thing. It's going to be completely fact-based for people to understand, because I think that is one of the major problems. Harry, you got 2 minutes, brother, real quick. But before Harry, 713-526-5738. Folks, we don't have any contributions yet. Please give us a call at 713-526-5738, extension number 1. $5 a month, $10 a month, $100 for a t-shirt. A lot of different options that you have. You can go to kpft.org and hit the donate button, drop down box for politics done right, and whatever you can. If you're at your computer, at your phone right now, sitting down listening, while you're listening, you can be contributing and donating as well. You can. Harry, 2 minutes, my dear brother.
Okay. Al Jazeera, TikTok, AIPAC, and Israel want Al Jazeera and TikTok silenced. So that's because those are informative avenues to tell you what's been going on over there. And like you were talking about earlier, Egberto, with Panama, with your hometown. Blacks and browns, who cared? They wanted to bomb those people just to get one guy who they were corrupt with, the United States. Louis Farrakhan at that time was saying that George Bush 41 is a war criminal, crimes against humanity. I talked about this yesterday on Steve Hunter's show. As far as Netanyahu's concerned, he and I don't like what Joe Biden did there. Hamas needs to be arrested, but Netanyahu needs to be arrested as well. Two wrongs don't make a right with the genocide that he's doing. And I love Melissa's comments with innocent women and so who have nothing to do with the Hamas-Israeli conflict being killed. And they both, ICC is correct. I applaud them. They both need to be arrested. Let's see. And the tax
I tell you what. No. I tell you what, Harry. You came at a good stopping point. You have your platform here. We'll talk tomorrow. Let me get to some other callers. I appreciate you. Let's get to other callers. And guess what? I'm going to talk about some of those issues in Rogue when we get out of Fund Drive. Thank you, brother. All right, let's go to Ted. Come on in, Ted. 2 minutes.
Okay. It's a source of great frustration to me that progressives and we say we believe in equality of women and equality of homosexual rights, and yet we're going to not vote for Biden because he refuses to abandon Israel to a bunch of terrorists that murder homosexuals. The first thing that they did when they got control of Gaza was round up all the gay men and throw them off the highest
let me stop you a second. Let me stop you a second right there, Ted, because we are not in disagreement. Ted, we're not in disagreement. Let me just say this because for time, I just want to get it.
Away. I mean, okay, we shouldn't starve them, but that's it.
Hey, Ted, can you hold it? Let me get in a word here. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we're kind of pressed for time. Look, I am absolutely not telling anybody. I'm a very progressive guy. I'm left of likely yourself. Okay. I personally, let me take my host hat off. I am voting for Brother Biden. Brother Biden, in my humble opinion, is who I have to vote for. based on my morals, etc. I completely disagree with Biden's Israeli policy, completely. But I'm not a one-issue voter. I'm a voter for the humanity
I
of everyone.
completely agree with it. I think he's done it perfectly.
And let me finish. That's fine. But I let you talk. Let me finish.
Why you don't? Why? But
let me explain, sir. Let me explain. You are right that there are. Let me finish. Go ahead. We're cool.
I'm letting you. I'm asking you a question.
Okay.
I want to know.
I don't. When I look at a country, I can't look at a country and say because, let's say, women are treated better in Israel than they are in Gaza or whatever because of culture, that I think one other country should be able to decimate that other country. I can't do that. You're right that those policies need to change. But when it comes to international relations, etc., that isn't a part of the equation. We can talk about that in more detail. And I'd love to discuss this with you when we're out of Fund Drive. So let's keep listening and let's keep talking to each other. Do I have you after Fund Drive? Do I have you after Fund Drive? Thank you. Let's go to Oliver. But before I go to Oliver, I want to thank a caller who loves the station with a one-time donation. I don't want to call the name out because I have a feeling this is a person that doesn't want their name called out. But thank you so kindly for that contribution, sir. If you just gave that and want your name called out, you can tell Jack. But I think I know who this is, and I don't want to call the name out. All right, let's go to Oliver. Come on in, Oliver.
Thank you, Egberto. Good morning. Thank you for your analogy with regards to thank you for your analogy with regards to Galleria. I had a similar one, but in interest of time, I will go with yours. If that was happening at the Galleria, at what point does one of those innocent persons at the Galleria defend themselves from annihilation, defend their child, or shield their child? If it were the police, would you just say, oh, it's the police, I'm going to let them kill me? You can go ahead and shoot my child to get those bandits? Would we say that?
No.
At what point does someone defend themselves, no matter from who it is? If a child was found in the street and he runs into his mother's house, be it he was the instigator of the fight or he was wrong, and that person follows that child or the other party who was treated wrongly, chases that child who was the aggressor into his mother's house, at what point does the mother not let her child be stumbled and killed? Or does he have his brother, like you said, collective punishment? Does he have the right to beat the brother too in that mother's house? At what point does someone defend themselves from an aggressor?
Very well put. Very well put. Very well put, Oliver. Very well put. And I think what happens a lot of times is the following. We are asked not to think. We are asked, our plutocracy, our oligarchy want to do the thinking for us. Okay? And by the way, Jack had mentioned a word, desensitization, that I needed to put out. There are two things that are happening in our society: desensitized to morality, desensitized to harming others, and some of what I think you were just pointing out. So yes, Oliver, I'm with you 100%.
Cornel West recently said that if it had gone this far, black people would have become the American Hamas. Had we?
Well, let me take it an interesting part further. Our founding fathers, America's founding fathers. What do you think British think about them at the time they were fighting for their independence? Again, we have
Mandela said it may have to come to violence. Unfortunately, I must repeat his words, because people will fight for their freedom.
Right. And so think about it. You listen. That's one of the reasons people want to burn books and not have us learn our real history or anything like that. If we learned our real history, we would be a lot more empathetic. we would be a lot more empathetic. But they don't want us to learn our history, because then we can think of Palestinians as animals. We can think of the others of less than human, and that's what we have to avoid. Thank you very much, Oliver. I got to go to Brian and then Todd. Okay, thank you, brother. Peace. All right, let's go to Brian. Come on in, Brian.
Good morning. I hope the pledge that you got was a pretty good one.
Every pledge is a good pledge. This was on the smaller side, but I appreciate it because I think this person has given before. Everybody I have. Oh, by the way, I have another person to thank, but no name. And again, it's somebody who's given before. I wish we would get some new people that would call in and say, I'm going to give you $5 a month or $10 a month, or get your T-shirt, your Politics and Right T-shirt for $100. You can go to kpft.org, hit the donate button, hit scroll down to Politics and Right, and do that right now. Go ahead, Brian. Talk to me, my brother.
Okay. Two other points. Another caller yesterday was talking about the postal banking system.
Yes.
That didn't exist in the way he was thinking. It was more like a certificate of deposit. Mm-hmm. You couldn't go into the post office and write a check, and then they would take the check to pay your electric bill or your car note.
Mm-hmm.
The banks were failing so badly in 35 that that's when they came in with the FDIC to make sure that the money was safe. So it's not like the caller was thinking that he could go in and like have an interest earning checking account or something. The other thing is, Biden has recently. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think. Look, while you're right about that, right? I do believe in something called public banking, right? Public banking is a place for you to store your money and a place for you to write checks on. There's one Republican state that does that right this minute, South Dakota. Okay, South Dakota has all the monies that comes from it's either South or North Dakota. I got to look it up to be sure. You can look that up. All the state money is in public banking, right? So therefore, interest and all of that would be charged for state services, all of that's gone. And really, it's kind of like there's no reason for the state to keep its money in a private bank. They can actually do it all on their own. And that state, a good Republican conservative state, that's exactly what they're doing. And I think it's something that we should do the entire country. I think private banking should be an option, but I think when it just comes to moving money around, there's nothing wrong with public banking. And the reason people talk about it being at a post office is because there are post offices in every corner of the United States. Continue, my brother Brian.
Okay. Biden recently said that when he came into office, the interest rate, inflation rate was 9.1%.
No,
and
that's wrong.
Totally false.
That's completely wrong. The inflation rate was low. No. Yeah.
Yeah, very, very low. And
yes, it was 2 point something percent. Okay.
Yeah, the White House had to correct him, and he also said that Obama sent him during the height of the COVID to get that corrected in Detroit, and that's totally wrong.
I didn't understand. I don't understand.
Biden was sent by Obama. This is from Biden's words, by the way. Obama sent him to Detroit to get the COVID problem corrected.
Oh, he didn't mean COVID. What he meant was, I think he meant the Ebola problem. I don't think it was the COVID problem. Because he worked for Obama.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't in office during either one, actually. So he said a lot of bad things when he was addressing the Morehouse college graduates. It's some totally false things, 8 false things, actually.
Okay, and let me tell you, Brian, I don't doubt you. Okay, I don't doubt that he said 8 wrong things. All right, I want you to the same empathy, the impetus that you have with what Biden says wrong. I want you to do the same thing with Brother Trump, and then let's go ahead and compare notes. Okay, do it with both and compare notes. All right.
All right.
Do that exercise. Thank you, brother. Peace. Let's go to Todd. Thank you, Brian. Todd, come on in. Okay, Todd's going to come in a little bit, folks. By the way,
we're getting there.
Yeah, no problem. I just want to say, while we wait for Todd, please give us a call at 713-526-5738, extension number 1. And then after Todd, we're going to go to Sandy. Come on in, Todd.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you, Todd. Good morning.
I love listening to your conversations with everybody. You always go through a wide range of issues and topics, and I just wanted to thank you for letting me talk for a second there about the issue of my main observation of our world today in this country is we are in this information warfare, is what I call it, between these two parties, the Democrats and Republicans. It's this constant effort from either side to just take the other side out, and it's a winner-take-all mindset. And both sides continue to push these narratives with only one purpose, to just sort of just discredit and destroy the other side. And I think that's just fundamentally a huge problem. I'm not sure how it's going to fix, but I look for news from a wide variety of sources. That's why I listen to your show sometimes. I listen to AM radio sometimes. I listen to Al Jazeera or The Guardian, or I'll flip around, and a lot of it just seems like it's all propaganda being pushed. But as far as labeling people who disagree with what the Democrats are doing, when I was educated, I was taught to sort of question everybody and everything, even Democrats. And I think sometimes, you're just saying right now, the guy just mentioned Biden, he basically flat out lied, saying it was 9% inflation when he came in or whatever. Well, that is just a proven lie. But for 4 years, it was nothing but Trump lies, Trump lies, Trump lies. Well, here's Biden. He continues to say these lies. And so I don't know that there's all that different. You want to get a tally sheet and see who did more or who didn't. Neither one of them should lie. And if you're upset about Trump lying, it should be the same with Biden. But one last point I was going to make was, and I didn't hear it anywhere else, but a few years ago, Trump gave a speech at the United Nations that I heard about from some AM radio station, and it was a full house, and he challenged all the Arabic Muslim leaders of all their countries to empower the women in their countries and also to decriminalize homosexuality. And they had a photo shot of them all sort of changing their posture. Like, what did he just say? And I've never heard anybody else say anything like that. But nobody was really allowed to hear that in our country because the Democrats kind of control the news cycles, and they did everything they could. You probably are in disbelief of what I just said.
No, I'm not at all. No. In fact, you can find our.
You go look it up.
Hey, Todd. Todd. I think I gave you a lot of time. Let me just ask you this, or tell you this. You can go ahead and search Daily Kos. That's another place where I write. And you would see the articles when I talk about the progressive policies that Donald Trump was triangulating Hillary Clinton with when he was running against her in 2016. I mean, look, I hope you listen to this show because I am a left-wing progressive, absolutely. But I'm also honest and truthful. And if somebody's telling the truth, just like you didn't hear me dispute Brian about the 9% or anything like that. I believe in telling the truth, but I also believe in being in being honest in all degrees. In other words, whoever it is. And so after the fun drive, I want to hear some more from you, and let's do some more talking because I think you're going to find that in as much as, like I said, I'm way to the left. I make sure and I'm fair. And you started out about people fighting each other. I am with you. That's why I was a board member of the Coffee Party USA, because I believe we should be bringing everybody together and having this big morass talking and figuring things out. So, Todd, we'll talk another day. Appreciate you. And
can I add one thing?
One last thing.
When people say Trump hates LGBTQ people and he hates women, I'd like to challenge you. If you listen to that section of his speech at the UN, how can somebody who hates those two groups call on Muslim nations to empower both of those groups.
All right,
that's what I'm saying.
Okay, I got you. You never heard me. Look, you never heard me say that, but we'll talk about it some other time.
But I want you to make sure you heard what I just said, because
I heard
never
you.
heard it before.
Sir, I told you I didn't hear about the speech, and and I hadn't heard that before, and we'll talk about it. All right. Hey, Todd, we'll talk. I promise you. Thank you, my brother.
Oh.
All right. Let's go to Sandy.
Thank you, Egberto. Well, we have an anonymous pledge, which is a sustaining pledge, and we have a small pledge from someone that you don't want to mention, so I'm not going to mention that person either, but I thank those two people for stepping up and getting us started. We're still a couple of $100 behind on our goal for the program, and of course, we have a big gap, as we talked about, between our intended goal of $150,000. We're $4 short of $87,000 right now. We want to bring this whole thing down Sunday night, but we may have to extend beyond that if we don't have sufficient funds at that point. Not my first choice, trust me, but we have very little in the way of alternatives. When was the last time you heard a paid commercial sponsor on KPFT advertising a car or a clothing line or a pharmaceutical or some other miraculous thing in 30 seconds with a 30-second commercial that will entirely change your life? The answer is never. We've never had a commercial. We don't have commercial sponsors. We have a listening audience that for 54 plus years has provided the funding necessary to continue. And such is the case here in our May Share-a-thon. Now, we have some great thank you gifts. We have a 32-ounce stainless steel tumbler with the KPFT logo on it. It's a $120 donation. Join in at a $10 a month sustainer and get that stainless steel tumbler. You don't have to do the $120 right now. You could do $10 a month, not as a sustainer over the course of a year. But if you could become a sustainer, in other words, you give us the credit card number or your bank information, and every month a small amount comes to KPFT, an amount of your choice, $5 or $10, $15, or in the case of one person this morning, $7 a month. Whatever number it is that you can part with, whatever amount it is that you can part with, and throw over to KPFT will ensure our survival and our ability to broadcast for years to come. This is a vibrant conversation this morning, hearing from a lot of people that don't always agree with Egberto, don't always agree with me, but it's good to hear their opinions. It's good to know that they're out there and their thoughts are in that direction, because through that, you have an understanding at least of where they're coming from. And perhaps one day you can engage in a dialogue. Maybe here on the air, you can offer a counter opinion. And this could be the water cooler we all gather around to have that conversation. Those conversations lead to compromise. Compromise leads to peace. Folks, I can't emphasize enough that commercial media goes out of its way to get you riled up so that you keep listening, especially when those commercials come on every 8 minutes for a few minutes. Especially then, because those commercial sponsors go, wow, look at those numbers. This is worth my investment in this station. Keep it up, boys. And oh, by the way, don't talk about that stuff. You know, the stuff I'm talking about. Don't talk about that. We don't like it here at Terrific Corp. We want you to just stick to what we tell you. We don't have that here. This is an open, unfettered source of information from your friends and neighbors. Agree or disagree, you have to agree that you've never heard a commercial. And for that very reason, many of you listen. Please support what you're listening to. Please support what you're listening to. 2 people donating, I thank them, but really at this point, we should have 20. Considering all the people participating this morning, all the people listening, we can do better as a collective. 713-526-5738, option 1, or kpft.org. If you'd like a nice KPFT t-shirt, we can get you one of those. The new rainbow logo shirt, $120. Politics Done Right shirt, $100. Take the thank you gift you want but leave some cash for KPFT. And in doing so, you're doing a kind and good act for all of Houston and for all of the people that listen to this community radio station. 713-526-5738, Egberto.
Thank you very much, folks. This is KPFT Houston. We're going to be going a little bit over today, trying to get some more of our funding put together. I'm going to go to Jack next, but before I go to Jack, I want to read something. Texas Blue Bonnet on our chat. Thank you for being here. Mandy MM, thank you for being here. Eric Hayes, thank you for being here. This is what Texas Blue Bonnet says. He says, hello, poor people. Remember, the best thing in life are free, but you can give them to the birds and bees. KPFT needs something. KPFT needs some of your money. I love that, Texas Blue Bonnet. That was great. That was great. I appreciate you so much. Folks, give us a call at 713-526-5738. Extension number 1 to donate. Extension number 2 to speak. But folks, here's the deal. Could you please, now that the show has officially ended, I didn't get to taxes, so you can go to politicsandright.com/newsletter to get the videos and newsletter, all that good stuff. In fact, I think I have an article from Norman Solomon in the newsletter as well. I think I put that out last night before I sent him a text saying, hey, I need to have an interview with you because this paper that you wrote was boss. It's printed in every single rag across the country. And I want to talk to him. And then I said, I want to talk about from the inception of Israel plus what we're having right now. And he said, I have somebody better to give to you. Go to Abba Solomon for that part of the discussion, and then I'll talk about the transition into today. So that is how it came up with me having these two people that's going to have some very important information. Again, truth, facts, all that good stuff. Anyway, so please call 713-526-5738, extension numero uno, extension number 1. And please contribute to the show today. Remember to say it's in the name of Politics Done Right, but we need your contribution. $5 a month, $10 a month. Can you do 20 a month? Can you do 25 a month? Whatever you can. If you do 25 a month, you actually get a 4x8 brick that immortalizes you on our Walk of Fame with whatever insignia you want to put on it. And likewise, a $50 a month contribution gives you that 8x8 brick that you can put whatever you want to put on the brick, as long as it's not something obscene, of course. But anyway, let's go to Jack. Come on in. Jack, how you doing this morning? Jack, you're on. Jack, are you on mute, Jack? While you figure out your mute, Jack, I'm going to do one more pitch. Folks, I know you go ahead and you would spend $100 a month. Just speak up when you're here, Jack, and then I'll stop my pitch. Folks, you get $100. A lot of you pay $100 a month for cable. A lot of you pay $200 a month for cable. You have no say. They give you what they give you, and eso es lo único que recibes. That's the only thing that you get. At KPFT, and if you listen to the discussion you had this morning, we had a healthy discussion with people that agreed, disagreed, people from all political spectrums. Nobody cussed anybody because we have a level of respectful discourse here. Think about that. Where do you get that? We all want a fixed America. We all want a fixed America, mean an America that doesn't hate each other, an America that can talk among each other, that can discuss things, whether they agree or not. And we all say we want that. We do. And we want to know, why is the polarization so bad, and all these things we talk about. And here we are at KPFT, and what yours truly tries to do with this program is to address just that. Not to say, I agree with everything that you are about, or you agree with everything that I'm about, or anything like that. But just to say, if we, first of all, accept each other's, not accept, but acknowledge it, not accept. It's not about accepting. It's acknowledging each other's humanity, that may think differently, it gives us the respect that we need for each other to talk to each other. Don't you think when some people that disagree with me call, I want to oh, what are you saying? But one of the things we preached at Coffee Party USA and I learned is if you learn how to respect others, that sort of stuff is it rubs off. It is infectious, and it's a good infection. And that's the kind of stuff that I want to promote with these programs that we do here. I think there is value in that, especially in a country falling apart by the seams, because we have those entities that realize that keeping us apart, keeping us fighting each other, they can make big profits from it, from oil companies to manufacture. All kinds of companies see value in us fighting each other and not doing critical thinking. That's why they want to do all those things, right? That's why we're here. And there is value in that. There's not just value. It's a necessary thing if we are to survive as a country. And every person makes a difference. Howard.
Egberto, you talk about folks and the corporations wanting us to fight each other. It's called divide and conquer.
Yes.
And look at what's happening. Project 2025. That is the poison pill that is going to kill society. Divide and conquer. And the corporations are right behind it. So beware. That's all I had to say.
Thank you very much for that, Howard. It is so important for and folks, a lot of times we ask, why do we let that happen? Or who is going to do something about that, right? Who's going to do something about that? Again, you remember when last week I looked at all of you and I said, it's not Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk who created our economy, who created our success, who enriched us. That's not the people who did it. And then I told all of you, turn around and go look in the mirror. You are looking at our economy when you look in the mirror. You are looking at our innovators when you're looking in the mirror. You are looking at our forms of production when you're looking in the mirror. It's not Gates. It's not Musk. Those guys are great capitalists. But the people that are the people that are making things happen, look in the mirror. Are you a secretary? Look in the mirror. Do you sweep the streets of Houston or America? Look in the mirror. Do you pick up garbage every day? Look in the mirror. Are you an engineer? Look in the mirror. Lawyer? Look in the mirror. Doctor? Look in the mirror. You are society. You are the ones that make this whole thing work. And all of you play a part in making sure it works. So when we give we have been taught, indoctrinated to have a special view of the Gates and the Musk and these guys. No. Look in the mirror. Those are the ones that I do every year. In fact, I'm going there in July to our huge conference of all progressive bloggers, loggers, broadcasters, etc. And the people that I most look for when I'm interviewing, and you get those interviews every year, are those people that are out there working in the field and helping folks. I get the politicians here and there for sure, but I make sure that the people that are actually making things happen are the ones that get a face, get a value, get something out. And what we're asking you to do right now, allow us to keep doing this kind of stuff. 713-526-5738. I only have 2 small contributions right now. I know we can do better. I know there are many of you out there that listen to us diligently that haven't yet contributed to the station. I'm asking you to do so now. 713-526-5738, extension number 1, or go to kpft.org, kpft.org, hit that donate buttons, pull down Politics Done Right, and donate what you can. I only have about 7 minutes to go now, I believe. I'm looking at my clock. It's about 7 minutes to go. So we don't have much time, but of course, after the program, you can still donate. Go on to kpft.org and make sure to select Politics and Right so we know that the money is coming from what we're talking about here. But I'm going to throw it to Sandy a bit, and then I kind of come back and close her out. Sandy?
Thank you, Egberto. We only have a few minutes, as Egberto said, and it would be great to hear from you. 2 people donating to KPFT in this hour, not enough. We need more of you to step up. This is Wednesday. We hope to bring this down Sunday. However, we could be back here next week talking to you as well. Don't want to do that as it's Memorial Day weekend and a short week for us. The official or unofficial start of summer, as I've heard it called. Folks, KPFT needs to pay its bills. These are critical bills. There was once a time when we had 15, 16 people being paid running around the building, and our budget was about 50% operations and 50% personnel costs. That goes back many years. Over the years, I'll keep it short and just say we now have 1 employee. So the 15, 16 paid positions have evaporated, but for one, that one is required by the FCC, and we hope to pay Howard, our engineer, the guy that with the tin cans and string and the glue to keep them all together, handsomely to keep doing that because he does a great job. I think we can all agree on that. We've got 1 employee. Where does the rest of the money go? It goes to pay the basic bills to keep us within our licenses correctly. It goes to pay the artists that when we play music, ASCAP and BMI. It goes to pay for insurance. It goes to pay for transmitter parts, which are incredibly expensive, as we just learned. And oh, by the way, HD2 FM is happily running along. So if you have an HD radio in the car and you don't want to listen to HD1, 90.1 FM, you can switch over to HD2 and have a whole different slate of programming. The money goes to pay the bills to keep those 2 schedules, all the programming up on the air and audible in your ears. Without the money to continue paying the bills, most certainly KPFT will disappear. It's not a threat. It's not a promise. It's not anything alike. It's just what we deal with. So make it easier for the entire community by doing your part. We don't send you a bill in the mail. We don't call you. We don't knock on your door. There is no aggressive ad campaigns running on other media outlets telling you to directing your attention to KPFT. It's just right here, which means that if you're listening, you already know about it. If you can't donate, tell 2 friends. But if you're in a position to give your part, please do so. Let us hear from you and join in the other 542 people that have called up and made donations. In some case, some people are multiple offenders. We wouldn't even be on the air, save for a few of those. We really, really thank our major patrons, but everybody's a major patron here if you listen. And if you're consuming this, if you're listening and you're calling in and you haven't donated, I'd really like to know why. Drop me a note, gm@kpft.org. Let us know what your objection is. They say that's the easiest way to get people on board is to overcome those objections, no matter what it is that you're trying to accomplish. Even negotiating peace in the Middle East, overcoming objections. I'm not trying to negotiate peace in the Middle East. We are trying to keep KPFT on the air. Please participate and do it in the next couple of minutes. 713-526-5738. Need your participation now. Egberto, back to you.
Thank you, Sandy. Texas Blue Bonnet on the chat wants to thank Mrs. V, Nudie, Susan Darrow, and all the others who play great music. You see, we are not only about talk, but we're also about good music. But folks, please give us a call at 713-526-5738. Hit extension 1. Give us whatever you can. Please also go to kpft.org, kpft.org, hit that donate button, select the drop down Politics Done Right, and then go ahead and give that donation. I got to start to wrap right now, folks. So please, look, I want to thank Sandy for the great work, Howard for the great work, Jack for the great work. I want to thank all the callers who created a vibrant discussions that were substantive and things that we need to talk about and we will be talking about. I want to thank all the listeners out there, and
Well, I guess he rapped.
And I want to thank.
There you go.
Yeah,
you disappeared for a second.
All right, sorry about that. And I want to thank all the listeners out there, and the listeners that as soon as I get off the air, they're going to go to kpft.org, hit that donate button, scroll down to Politics Done Right, and give a donation. So I'm getting off the air right now. Thank you, all of you. Love all of you. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.